Black families across the South had survived slavery, survived Reconstruction, and survived the rise of Jim Crow. But by the early 20th century, life in the South had become unbearable. Every part of daily life reminded Black people that they were not safe. Signs told them where they could and could not walk. Poll taxes and literacy tests stripped away their right to vote. Lynch mobs acted with impunity, and the law protected the mob more than it protected the people. The South had become a place where hope felt dangerous. But something else was happening too. Word began to spread about cities far to the north and west, places where factories were hiring, places where a Black man could earn a wage that didn't depend on a white landowner, places where a Black woman could walk down the street without stepping off the sidewalk for anyone, places where children could go to school without being told they were inferior. These stories traveled from porch to porch, church to church, and train station to train station. They sounded like possibility. The spark came during World War I. Northern factories needed workers, and for the first time, they actively recruited Black laborers from the South. Flyers appeared in small towns promising good wages, steady work, and a chance at dignity. Some families left quietly in the night. Others packed their belongings in plain sight, refusing to hide their decision. They boarded trains with nothing but suitcases, faith, and the belief that life could be different. The journey itself was a test of courage. Trains heading north were crowded with families who had never left their counties, let alone their states. Mothers held their children close. Fathers stared out the windows, watching the fields of the South fade behind them. Every mile felt like a step away from fear and a step towards something new. They did not know what waited for them, but they knew what they were leaving behind. When they arrived in cities like Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, New York, and Cleveland, the world felt overwhelming. The buildings were taller, the streets were louder, the air smelled like smoke and steel. But there was something else too. There were Black neighborhoods filled with people who had made the same journey. There were churches, newspapers, businesses, and social clubs built by Black hands. There were opportunities that had never existed in the South. The Great Migration transformed these cities. Black workers powered factories, railroads, stockyards, and steel mills. Black artists, writers, and musicians reshaped American culture. The Harlem Renaissance exploded with creativity. Jazz and blues traveled from southern porches to northern stages. Black newspapers grew in influence, telling the truth about the South and demanding justice. A new political power began to rise, one that white supremacists in the South could no longer control. But the North was not a promised land. Housing discrimination, police violence, and racial hostility followed Black families wherever they went. White neighborhoods resisted integration. Race riots erupted in cities like Chicago and East St. Louis. Yet, even with these challenges, Black families refused to go back. They built new lives, new communities, and new futures. They created a foundation that would fuel the civil rights movement decades later. By the time the Great Migration ended, more than 6 million Black Americans had left the South. It was one of the largest movements of people in American history. It reshaped the nation's culture, politics, and identity. And it proved something powerful. When a people decide they deserve more, no law, no threat, and no system can stop them from seeking it. The Great Migration was not just a relocation. It was an act of collective courage. It was a declaration that Black life mattered, that Black families deserved safety, and that Black children deserved a future. It was a movement born from pain but driven by hope, and it changed America forever. They tried to erase it. They tried to silence it, but we are still here, still telling the truth. If this episode challenged what you thought you knew, don't keep it to yourself. Push it forward. Start the conversation they tried to silence. This is Black Justice Untold. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.